This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, July 24th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Federal prosecutors say Michael Gann built and improvised explosive devices using chemicals he bought online. Julie Walker, New York.
A federal judge has rejected a Trump administration bid to unseal Jeffrey Epstein grand jury records in Florida. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Brian Kohberger was sentenced to life in prison for the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. I'm Ed Donahue.
Lawyers for Kilmar Abrego Garcia celebrating what they're calling a win for their client. I'm Clayton Neville.
The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee has barred transgender women from competing in women's sports. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
A doctor has pled guilty to selling Friends star Matthew Perry ketamine in the weeks before his death. I'm Haya Panjwani.
All ahead on America in the Morning. It's 7 after. A federal appeals court in San Francisco rules that President Trump's order seeking to end birthright citizenship is unconstitutional, affirming a lower court decision that blocked its enforcement nationwide. The 2-1 ruling from a panel of judges from the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals comes after Trump's plan was also blocked by a federal judge in New Hampshire. Their statement, quote, "The district court correctly concluded that the executive order's proposed interpretation denying citizenship to many persons born in the United States is unconstitutional. We fully agree," end quote. The lone dissenting judge said in his dissent, "We should approach any request for universal relief with good faith skepticism, mindful that the invocation of complete relief isn't a backdoor to universal injunctions." The ruling marks the first time an appeals court has weighed in on the birthright citizenship issue and brings Trump's executive order one step closer to going back to the Supreme Court. Correspondent Julie Walker reports federal prosecutors are hailing police for stopping a bomb plot in New York City while announcing the alleged would-be bomber will face multiple felony charges.
Federal prosecutors in New York City say Michael Gann built at least 7 improvised explosive devices using chemicals he bought online. One he put on the train tracks on the Williamsburg Bridge, others on rooftops in Soho. Prosecutors say they have surveillance video. No one was injured by any of the devices. Officials say Gann was planning on adding shotgun shells to his IEDs, and his internet search history includes chlorine bomb, how to make flash powder from household items, and 3D gun printing. The 55-year-old from Long Island was arrested in June. Just hours before that, he posted on Instagram, "Who wants me to go out to play like no tomorrow?" Julie Walker, New York.
A federal judge denies the Trump administration's request to release decades-old grand jury testimony from cases involving Jeffrey Epstein. Following that story, correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the judge says her hands are tied.
A federal judge has rejected a Trump administration bid to unseal Jeffrey Epstein grand jury records in Florida. The judge says the request to release transcripts from grand jury probes in 2005 and 2007 does not meet extraordinary exceptions under federal law that could make them public. A similar request in New York is pending. The administration last week asked judges in both states to unseal transcripts that led to indictments of both Epstein and his former girlfriend in a sex trafficking case. Parts of the president's base have been pushing for more information about Epstein after he helped fan conspiracy theories for years about a government cover-up. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
This is America in the Morning, and that large dome of heat is moving east of the Mississippi. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A large dome of heat will continue to spread from the southern states north and east today, bringing widespread highs in the 90s and AccuWeather real-field temperatures from 100 to as high as 115 degrees from Texas into places like Missouri and Mississippi. However, a zone of more intense moisture will develop from central Oklahoma into the upper Midwest as a cold front arrives in this general area this afternoon and evening, squashing washing and intensifying this moist zone. This class of air masses will fuel thunderstorms that will be able to turn severe from the Oklahoma City metro zone into the southeastern half of both Iowa and Wisconsin, through all of lower Michigan and the southern and eastern upper peninsula. Storms may contain wind gusts of at least 55 to 65 miles per hour and some tornadoes. Afternoon and evening severe weather is also expected within a zone from Wyoming to northeastern New Mexico along a mostly stalled part of the same front. Storms in this area may produce localized damaging wind and hail. Expect the tail end of this feature to even lead to some pop-up afternoon storms from interior northern California to northern Nevada, with a dry day for most other places west of the Rockies. More active weather will continue over the South and Ohio Valley as well, with a stray afternoon storm from southern Indiana to southeastern Arkansas and western North Carolina. Storms should be heavier and more widespread from South Carolina through Florida into southern Louisiana as a storm heads westward through the Gulf, and there may be flooding in some areas through Friday. As increased humidity and warmth return to the northeast today, an extended period of occasional downpours shifts west to east from northeastern Kansas to the mid-Atlantic today through Sunday. In Warm River, Idaho, today brings sunshine and a high of 85. For Gulfport, Mississippi, expect clouds, showers, and a heavy thunderstorm around, the high 89. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. 15 past now. I'm John Trout. Correspondent Ed Donahue says the man who pled guilty to murdering 4 college students in Idaho has learned his fate.
Brian Kohberger was sentenced to life in prison for the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. Kohberger pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty.
His actions have made him the worst of the worst.
Judge Stephen Hippler pointed out Kohberger gave nothing hinting of remorse, redemption, or regret.
I will not attempt to speak about him further, other than to simply sentence him so that he is forever removed from civilized society.
Kohberger did not speak in court, but family members and friends of the victims did.
Sociopath, psychopath, murderer.
Dylan Mortensen was a roommate of the victims.
He is a hollow vessel, something less than human. A body without empathy.
It may never be known why Kohberger did it or how he came to target the 4 students. I'm Ed Donahue.
Columbia University has reached a deal with the Trump administration to restore federal research money that was canceled in the name of combating anti-Semitism on campus. Under the agreement, the Ivy League school will pay a $200 million settlement over 3 years to the federal government. It'll also pay $21 million to settle investigations brought by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. America in the Morning continues. A federal judge in Tennessee is paving the way for the release of previously deported immigrant Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Correspondent Clayton Neville is following the story.
Per separate rulings from 2 judges, the Trump administration has to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia on his criminal charges in Tennessee, and immigration authorities must allow him to return to Maryland on supervision. Garcia's lawyers say the administration's trying to cover up alleged violations of Garcia's rights when he was mistakenly removed to El Salvador in March and spent time in a mega prison there. U.S. District Judge Waverly Crenshaw said that the government can't justify detaining Garcia before trying him on his smuggling charges. The rulings essentially let ICE restart Garcia's immigration proceedings in Baltimore and try to detain him once he's there. ICE is required, though, to give him 72 hours notice before removing him to a country where he doesn't have any ties. Garcia's request to delay his release by 30 days to first figure out what he's going to do next was approved, and his trial set to start early next year. I'm Clayton Neville.
What's happening today, the 24th, in the markets? Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning with the S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ at new record highs. There's a lot of trade optimism. President Trump announcing a trade deal with Japan, and there are reports that say a deal with the EU will only have a 15% tariff rate. That would be lower than feared.
There's hope now. Okay, here's the framework. We can live with 15%, right? 15%'s the new zero, right? It's not 30, it's not 50. Everybody's excited about 15, which is just such a baseline update. You think a year ago we'd be freaking out about 15%, and here we are celebrating. Oh my goodness, it's just 15%.
G Squared's Victoria Green on CNBC. Tesla out with disappointing quarterly results after the closing bell last night. Earnings and revenue missed
the forecasts, but the company says a lower-priced model EV is still coming this year.
Look, this company has challenges in front of it. When you have a quarter in which you're down 20% on earnings growth, 9% on your revenue growth, and now you're going to do that again, there's a growth challenge in front of you. And you have to question from a fundamental perspective, where do you see that turn in growth? And I'm not sure there's anything in front of us other than Elon Musk saying, hey, I'm back.
Virtus Investments' Joe Terranova on CNBC. Google parent Alphabet out with earnings and revenue that beat estimates last night after the closing bell, but shares fell initially when the report came out.
I'll tell you why we don't own it. And it really boils down to just this. Gartner's forecasting a 25% drop in 2026 in single search engine queries. So even if they do great in AI, even if they do great with Gemini, it is not as profitable as the main business, and that keeps us at bay.
Gilman Hill's Jenny Harrington on CNBC. Chipotle reported mixed quarterly results last night, trimmed its outlook. Consumers are starting to watch their wallets. IBM and T-Mobile each out with results that beat estimates for both earnings and revenue after the closing bell last night. Existing home sales took a dive last month, down 2.7% in June from May.
This report is based on closings, so contracts likely signed in April and May when the average on the 30-year fix jumped over 7% a few times and never really went below 6.8. The median price of a new home sold in June was $435,300, up 2% year over year, and another record high for the month of June. That is the 24th consecutive month of annual increases.
That's CNBC's Diana Olick. On today's watch list, we get another load of earnings from Honeywell, American Airlines, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and Tractor Supply, to name a few. We find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week. And we also get newly built home sales numbers for June.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. U.S. Olympic and Paralympic officials are placing a ban on transgender women being allowed to compete in U.S. Olympic women's sports. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh reports the decision comes in the wake of an executive order from the White House.
The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee has barred transgender women from competing in women's sports. The committee is citing an executive order from President Donald Trump. The order, signed in February, threatens to cut funding for organizations allowing transgender athletes in women's sports. The policy is listed under the USOPC Athlete Safety Policy and follows a similar move by the NCAA earlier this year. National governing bodies for various sports like swimming and track and field are expected to comply with the directive. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
You're with America in the Morning. A driver who rammed his car into a crowd waiting outside a Los Angeles nightclub is being charged with dozens of counts of attempted murder. Correspondent Jennifer King reports the man accused of being behind the wheel has a history of breaking the law.
Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced charges against 29-year-old Fernando Ramirez in what's alleged to be a deliberate car crash over the weekend that hurt 37 people.
37 counts of attempted murder and 37 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, the deadly weapon being the car.
Ramirez was later found to have been shot in the lower back.
He is accused of intentionally driving his car onto the sidewalk near the Vermont Hollywood, a popular venue.
LA Police Chief Jim McDonnell.
It is truly a miracle that nobody was killed that night.
The suspect has a criminal history, including an aggravated battery conviction in 2019, and records show he had domestic violence and drunken driving cases pending. Audio courtesy ABC 7 Los Angeles. I'm Jennifer King.
One of the doctors charged in connection with the death of TV actor Matthew Perry has pled guilty. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has details.
A doctor has pled guilty to selling Friends star Matthew Perry ketamine in the weeks before his death. 43-year-old Dr. Salvador Plasencia said in federal court he provided Perry with ketamine vials, lozenges, and syringes in the weeks leading up to his death in October 2023. A medical examiner determined that ketamine was Perry's primary cause of death. He had struggled with addiction for years. The Friends star's personal assistant, friend, and another doctor all agreed to plead guilty last year in exchange for their cooperation. That was so that the government could go after larger targets, Plasencia and a drug dealer known as the ketamine queen, Jasveen Sangha. Her trial is scheduled to start next month. I'm Haya Panjwani.
America in the Morning for Thursday, July 24th, 2025 is produced by Alexander Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Federal prosecutors say homemade bombs were planted across Manhattan by a Long Island suspect. I'm Sue Aller.
Emotional impact statements from victims' friends and families following the sentencing of Brian Kohberger. I'm Clayton Neville.
A Florida judge says no to the government request for old grand jury files dealing with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm Rich Johnson.
The Supreme Court is allowing President Trump to remove 3 Democrats on the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Russia calls WhatsApp a national security risk. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Back after these messages. A New York man is facing multiple felony charges after allegedly planting homemade bombs throughout Manhattan. Correspondent Sue Aller says prosecutors are praising law enforcement for catching the would-be bomber before he could detonate the devices.
It could have been a disaster. That's what New York City police are saying. They have released chilling new details about a suspected bomb maker accused of planting homemade explosives around Manhattan. 55-year-old Michael Gann of Inwood, Long Island, is facing federal charges after authorities say he built at least 7 IEDs and placed them across the city, including 5 on the rooftops in Soho, a Manhattan neighborhood, and 1 on the subway tracks of the Williamsburg Bridge. Officials say Gann purchased explosive materials online, including powder and oxidizers, which tipped off investigators. A Soho arrest last month led to a bomb squad discovery. Devices described as small, yet 600 times more powerful than a firecracker. These New Yorkers spoke to Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
What's behind it? What is his motive? Why? That would be my question.
Happy that they caught him. Happy that, nobody got hurt, of course. That's, main thing. That's priority.
Gann's neighbor said he had a troubled past.
He always got involved in things that, like he shot himself, he shot his foot.
Gans has been indicted by a grand jury on multiple counts. No injuries were reported and the motive remains unclear. In New York, I'm Sue Aller.
The man who pleaded guilty in the murders of 4 college students in Idaho in 2022 has received his sentence. Here's correspondent Clayton Neville.
It's still not clear if any of the University of Idaho students killed by Brian Kohberger were his specific target. It's also not known what his motives were in the murders. During a sentencing hearing, the judge said the motive may never be known and sentenced the former criminology student to 4 consecutive life sentences without parole. Friends and family took the stand during victim impact statements.
He took away the ability for me to tell him that I love him and that I'm so proud of them.
Surviving roommate Dylan Mortensen.
He took away who they were becoming and the futures they were going to have.
Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernoodle, and Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death at the girls' off-campus house in November of 2022. Mogan's dad, Ben Mogan.
It's the only great thing I ever really did, and the only thing I was really ever proud of.
Madison's stepfather, Scott Laramie, said that Kohberger isn't worth any more recognition.
Nor will we fall into hatred and bitterness. Evil has many faces, and we now know this, but evil does not deserve our time and attention.
Kaylee Gonsalves' father, Steve, had a message for Kohberger.
You're not worth the time, the effort to be remembered. In time, you will be nothing but 2 initials forgotten to the wind. No visitors, nothing more than initials on an otherwise unmarked tombstone.
Earlier this month and weeks before Kohberger's trial was set to start, he pleaded guilty to all counts. As a part of that deal, the death penalty was taken off the table. I'm Clayton Neville.
Grand jury records from decades ago dealing with Jeffrey Epstein will remain sealed. A Florida judge said that her hands are tied because the government's request doesn't fall under the limited exceptions for when grand jury testimony can be made public. More on the ruling and reaction from correspondent Rich Johnson.
The transcripts are from 2 cases against the financier and convicted sex offender in 2005 and 2007. And one expert says even if the grand jury transcripts did become public, it wouldn't satisfy those who refuse to let the case go.
This is not what the base is clamoring for. They want the Epstein files. This is just a small portion of that.
That's former Palm Beach County, Florida State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg earlier this week on ABC.
They're ravenous, conspiracy-fueled supporters. They want it all. And what they want is a client list, which does not exist. And they want proof that Epstein was murdered, which he didn't get killed by someone else. He killed himself. And so they're not going to get what they want.
As for the next steps at the White House,
I understand there are 2 other requests from the Department of Justice that are ongoing, but I'll let this president speak to whether he wants to see an appeal.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Those 2 pending cases are in Florida and New York. In the New York case, 2 judges have given the Justice Department until next week to more fully explain its desire for the documents. Meanwhile, House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer has issued a subpoena to Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving a 20-year sentence for helping Epstein abuse girls. House Speaker Mike Johnson wonders if there's anything to be gained.
Could she be counted on to tell the truth? Is she a credible witness?
And Senator Tom Tillis told those at an event sponsored by Axios, while Epstein may be dead, those pursuing the case are the stuff of horror shows.
It's got to be like those zombies in The Walking Dead. Every time you think you've killed it, another one's just going to come running out of the closet after you.
I'm Richard Johnson.
House Democrats move to acquire files on Jeffrey Epstein from the Justice Department. Correspondent Sagar Meghani says Speaker Mike Johnson has said he won't bring any votes to release the files to the floor.
House Democrats have launched their own bid to get Justice Department files on the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking probe. House Oversight Committee Democrats want to subpoena the department, essentially goading Republicans into defying President Trump and GOP leadership. Speaker Mike Johnson has said there's no need to vote on legislation forcing the release of more files.
The administration is already doing everything within their power to release them.
Noting the department's asked 2 federal judges to unseal grand jury materials in the Epstein case. One judge has already rejected that. Some Republicans and parts of the president's base are pushing to see more Epstein records. Top House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries wonders why Johnson's against it.
It's reasonable to conclude that Republicans are continuing to protect the lifestyles of the rich and shameless, even if that includes pedophiles.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Correspondent Ed Donahue reports the Supreme Court is backing President Trump's decision to fire several Democrats from an independent federal commission.
The Supreme Court is allowing President Trump to remove 3 Democrats on the Consumer Product Safety Commission. The Justice Department argued the agency is under the president's control, and he is free to remove commissioners without cause. The 3 were fired and then reinstated by a federal judge who ruled it was unlawful. The 3 liberal justices on the Supreme Court dissented. The commission helps protect consumers from dangerous products. A month earlier, the High Court's conservative majority decided not to reinstate fired members of the National Labor Relations Board and the Merit Systems Protection Board. This could prompt the court to consider overturning a 90-year-old Supreme Court decision known as Humphrey's Executor. In that case from 1935, the court unanimously held presidents cannot fire independent board members without cause. Ed Donahue, Washington.
President Trump issues a series of executive orders laying out his administration's policies relating to artificial intelligence. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports Silicon Valley helped shape the orders.
President Donald Trump has rolled out an AI action plan shaped by Silicon Valley tech leaders. The plan focuses on boosting artificial intelligence technology exports and streamlining permits for energy-intensive data centers. At an unveiling event, President Trump said,
America must once again be a country where innovators are rewarded with a green light, not strangled with red tape so they can't move, so they can't breathe, and that's not going to happen. You're going to see things that you've never seen in this country before.
He also said the industry needs a name change.
I can't stand it. I don't even like the name. I don't like anything that's artificial. So could we straighten that out, please? We should change the name.
Trump gave his tech advisors 6 months to come up with new AI policies after revoking President Joe Biden's AI guardrails on his first day in office. Those opposed to the president's AI agenda say that it prioritizes the needs of big tech over people. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports Tesla sales declined for the second quarter in a row as the company continues to grapple with backlash over CEO Elon Musk's political activity.
The fallout from Elon Musk's plunge into politics a year ago is still hammering his Tesla business, as both sales and profits dropped sharply again in the latest quarter for the third quarter in a row. The car company has faced boycotts for months. Revenue dropped 12% and profits slumped 16% as buyers continued to stay away. Quarterly profits at the electric vehicle, battery, and robotics company fell to $1.17 billion. That's down from $1.4 billion. Revenue fell from $25.5 billion to $22.5 billion, but slightly above Wall Street's forecast. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Russian parliament has banned Meta's WhatsApp messenger, calling it a threat to national security. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
Russian lawmakers are telling the Meta-owned messaging app WhatsApp to pack their bags or face a ban. The Russian parliament's head of the IT committee, lawmaker Anton Gorkin, released a statement on Telegram saying that WhatsApp's likely headed for a restricted software list by September 1st, per a new law signed by President Putin. This new Russian law pushes for digital sovereignty and adds favor to a state-backed messaging app called Max, which aims to ditch foreign platforms like WhatsApp that's used by more than 68% of Russians every day. Russia's betting that the Max app will scoop up all the market share if WhatsApp gets the boot. Another Russian lawmaker, Anton Nemkin, told their TASS news agency that WhatsApp's presence is a legal breach of national security. Mainly because Russia has labeled Meta an extremist outfit in Russia, and Facebook and Instagram have been banned since 2022. For more tech news, follow me on X @ChuckPalm.
A player with the Miami Dolphins was airlifted to the hospital after suffering an injury on the first day of training camp. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh has details.
Miami Dolphins offensive lineman Byron Matos suffered an undisclosed injury at the end of Wednesday's practice and was flown to a hospital on a helicopter. The injury happened in the final minutes of day one of the Dolphins training camp. The team said Matos was airlifted in stable condition. It did not release information on the injury. The 24-year-old Matos is in his second year in the NFL. He went undrafted in 2024 but signed with the Dolphins as a free agent through the NFL's International Player Pathway Program. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
We continue with sports this Thursday morning. Here's Robert Workman.
Baseball Wednesday, the Brewers blasted the Mariners 10-2 to move back into the top spot in the majors. They pounded out 17 hits. Dodgers nipped the Twins 4-3. Shohei Ohtani homered again. Manager Dave Roberts.
He's got 5 in a row now, 5 games in a row, which is pretty impressive. Continues to use the whole field, the big part of the field, and hit breaking balls, hit fastballs.
5 straight matches the franchise record established by Roy Campanella. Ohtani also scored the walk-off winning run on Freddie Freeman's 2-run base hit in the 9th. Pirates completed their sweep of the Tigers 6-1. Spencer Horwitz with a grand slam. Royals down the Cubs 8-4. Vinny Pasquantino with 2 of KC's 4 home runs. Reds shut out the Nationals 5-0 behind the 4-hit pitching of Nick Lodolo, his first complete game. Rockies blanked the Cardinals 6-0. Tanner Gordon and the Commissioners with a 5-hitter. That's Colorado's first shutout win since May 15th of last year. 220 games without a shutout was the third longest such streak in MLB history and the longest since the 19th century. Speaking of streaks, Justin Verlander had been winless in his first 16 starts this year, but he allowed just 1 hit over 5 innings for the W yesterday as the Giants battered the Braves 9-3. Mets topped the Angels 6-3, Pete Alonso with a 3-run shot. Red Sox beat the Phillies on a Carlos Narvaez 2-run tater in the 11th inning. White Sox overpowered the Rays, Rangers clipped the A's, Marlins got by the Padres, Astros took a hard-fought decision over the Diamondbacks, Blue Jays spanked the Yankees, and the Guardians tripped the Orioles. That's Thursday Sports.
Comedian David Letterman has weighed in on the cancellation of The Late Show. America in the Morning entertainment reporter Kevin Carr.
After CBS canceled The Late Show, the originator of that program has apparently come to Stephen Colbert's defense. On Wednesday, David Letterman posted a YouTube video featuring 20 minutes of him railing against his network, CBS, from 1994 to 2013. One clip included a top 10 list about CBS after it lost the NFL contract to Fox.
Top 10 new CBS slogans. Here we go, number 10. CBS,
could be sold. Number 9. More powerful than the Weather Channel. Number 8. You're watching CBS at least for another week or two.
In the description of the video, Letterman said, quote, "You can't spell CBS without BS." David Letterman launched The Late Show in 1993 after being passed over as the host of The Tonight Show on NBC. In 2015, he handed the reins over to Colbert. When Letterman was host of Late Night in the 80s and 90s, he was also known for taking digs at NBC's parent company, General Electric. On top of Letterman's comments, The Daily Show host Jon Stewart railed against Paramount and CBS on Monday, connecting the cancellation with President Donald Trump's ire against Colbert.
I believe CBS lost the benefit of the doubt 2 weeks prior when they sold out their flagship news program to pay an extortion fee to said president.
Although the show has been canceled, Colbert still has 10 months on the air, and he has this message for his critics.
And now for the next 10 months, the gloves are off.
I'm Kevin Carr.
A mysterious finding on a Scottish beach cracks open a nearly 200-year-old naval mystery. Correspondent Karen Shamas has details.
Science and local sleuthing have identified a 250-year-old shipwreck on a Scottish island when a schoolboy going for a run found the ribs of a wooden ship poking through the dunes of a remote Scottish beach. It sparked a hunt by archaeologists, scientists and local historians to uncover its story. Through a mix of high-tech science and community research, they now have an answer. Researchers announced on Wednesday that the vessel is very likely the Earl of Chatham, an 18th century warship that saw action in the American War of Independence before a second life hunting whales in the Arctic and then a stormy demise. The wreck excited interest on the Orkney island of 500 people, whose history is bound up with the sea and its dangers. Ben Saunders of Wessex Archaeology, a charity that helped community researchers conduct the investigation, told the AP,
"I think if it had been found in many other places, it wouldn't necessarily have had that community drive, that desire to recover and study that material, and also the community spirit to do it."
Some 270 shipwrecks have been recorded around the 20-square-mile island since the 15th century. I'm Karen Shamas.
America in the Morning for Thursday, July 24th, 2025 is produced by Alexander Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.